Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Second Nature podcast. Yes, we are back again, and yeah, let's get into it. Let me introduce my co.
That was just such a podcast intro. So, hey everyone, you're listening to another episode of the Second Nature podcast. This is episode 47. If you want to hit us up on our socials, just go to Second Nature Pod, Second Nature _pod on Instagram, and yeah.
Wow, that was JIREH's way of saying that my intro was terrible, and he felt the need to do it himself. But if you're a regular, you know us. But if you're new, the voice you're listening to is the voice of ARAMIDE. And I'm joined here by...
I thought you were going to say the voice you're listening to is the voice of reason.
We will never get past this. We will never ever get past this intro. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Anna. If you don't know, now you know. Hi guys.
Yeah, and I'm Jay. Yeah.
No one calls. Okay, no, that's a lie. I was gonna be like, no one calls you Jay, but that's a lie.
Yeah, the people who are going to be watching this on YouTube will be able to see his government name.
That's such a lie. I don't think you know how editing works.
Wow, sorry. So today we're currently recording, and at this point in time, it is the 26th of October.
OVO, let's go.
So JIREH is born in the month of October. His PayPal account is still open, so if you want to gift him with a gift, feel free to do so. You can find the link in his Instagram bio. But more importantly, equally as important, it is Black History Month in the UK.
Woo! I'm black, y'all. Black
History Month is almost over, guys.
Yeah, it's almost over. And did you know it was Black History Month? We're going to discuss it because
it didn't feel like
came
it
and went
this October, did it?
It didn't. And in America, if you're joining us from the US, your Black History Month is in the shortest month of the year. Is that suspect? We can unpack that. And that's in February. And so today, I was thinking about this topic because I realized that Black History Month came like a thief in the night and no one noticed it. And it's coming to an end.
Why are you saying thief and black? What's going on? Look at that. Wow. You've got some internalized racism that you need to unpack here.
Maybe. And don't we all, to an extent? Aren't we all a bit
You're deflecting from your crass comment that black people are thieves, okay?
Ooh. How are we gonna get this going? And so I was thinking about Black History Month, about how it's come, how it's gone. My experience of Black History Month, and the experience in short is I didn't know what Black History Month was until I got to uni. I didn't even know it was a thing until I met other Black people and they had oh my gosh, it's Black History Month. And I just wanted to kind of discuss it. So I was looking online and I saw that basically Black History Month started as a way of remembering important people, important events in the history of the African diaspora, right? From Africans to the ones who were taken over to the Americas and what's happened from then till now. And on that, many countries don't celebrate Black History Month. Literally, it is the UK, the Americas. And I'm sure there are other countries where there's groups of Black people.
I mean, they're the main perpetrators, so...
Well, we're forgetting the others, which is France. I don't think they celebrate it, but they are
Germany.
They're very much of a perpetrator, and they're still reaping the benefits right now.
Yeah. Absolutely. So I guess
Emmanuel Macron, you will answer for the crimes that you have committed.
Oh my goodness. I don't share the views. Everyone at Second Nature Pod, excluding JIREH, did not share the views. I guess on that front, do you think Black History Month was essentially, I'm going to focus on the UK because I don't have much to do with America. I've been there once, but I'm not American. Do you think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is it as a scheme, but a program that the Western countries have used to absolve themselves from the violence they've perpetrated in the past?
Almost
Like
like
performative reparations.
yeah,
Tell us more. Tell us
performative
more.
reparations. That's a good word, because actual reparations is never happening. So
Yeah.
No.
when we need to reclaim our time and we need our money and coins, that's not happening. But I don't know. For Black History Month, it's weird in the UK. Like I said, it's very performative. And this month,
They've not performed.
I didn't even realize. Well, I knew it was kind of happening, but what I was seeing more was I would walk into a shop, and I walked into Sainsbury's. I walked to the back where Argos is, because now there's an Argos in nearly every Sainsbury's for some reason. And I looked up and it said Argos supports Black History Month. And I was thinking, oh, okay.
So the opposite is that you don't support? I don't
No.
understand.
I was just standing there with my brother. And I was just thinking, this is weird. Is this not weird? Because I don't know Argos to be some sort of like Black ally, as they would say. I didn't even know that this is something that they did. And I don't even know if other demographics even pay attention to it. Like, to me, other demographics probably think this is more divisive than anything. But yeah, because October to me, until I moved to this country, was not Black History Month. It was just the month that I was born in, my birthday. That's it. When I grew up in the Netherlands, did not think about Black History Month. Didn't even really delve into Black history. We just learned about history. Granted, when they teach about history, they omit and wipe out a lot of Black significant people and groups. So therein lies a problem in itself. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, what about you, Anna?
I think growing up in a more predominantly like Black area and going to predominantly Black secondary schools and primary school, Black History Month was made more of a thing. So like we had, Black History Month performances. I remember in primary school we did this whole performance, and it was like a journey through like Motown, like. So we did like Motown, there was like Diana Ross, we had the Jackson 5, like just proper rehearsals for it, costumes and everything. And like, yeah, it was like a whole Motown performance. And this was like for Black History Month. And every year there was like these massive kind of productions and assemblies and loads of jam-packed in the curriculum about it. I mean, that was more primary school. I mean, secondary school was a bit, I don't want to say a bit more subtle, but there wasn't these like massive kind of productions, but we did have, let's say, like would study, I don't know, Black poetry, or invite like a Black someone to come and give an assembly, whole school assembly or something. Like, so because it was predominantly Black, I think they were very much more conscious of it. But when I come to uni, it's like been a completely different experience. I think Black students have had to like make Black History Month for themselves. I don't know, like it's kind of non-existent. Like, let's say a drama society would be like, it's Black History Month, so we're just gonna be, uplifting, Black art or black performances, or giving them a platform.
That's the only time they'll do it. No other time. They said it's not Black History Month, so let's just sit on the side and go.
So that's exactly it. And even recently, I can't remember, like I was just trying to remember now what company it was, but there's a company that have a TV advert for this month. I remember because I was watching the advert and I was like, oh, like it was like loads of like different Black kids and Black people, and they were doing all like different things. And I was like, oh, there's quite a few Black people in this advert. And then it was like what they were doing wasn't related to the company. I remember it thinking, this is so random. Then they were like, oh, company name, Black History Month, uplifting. And I was like,
those people are actors. Literally, when they're done, take you off set, and then the actual people who work in that company will come out and they will look nothing like those kids they said in those adverts.
And I was like, what are you guys actually doing to, I don't know, help Black art or whatever? Like it was just loads of like different random Black kids doing things that they were talented in. And I was like, is there infrastructure for this, or is this just an advert? I was so confused. I've never been so confused by an advert in my life. But yeah, that was so random.
Yeah. I guess since you guys have kind of said how your Black History Month has panned out over the years, I can tell you now for free, there was no Black History Month in my primary school, and there was not a single Black History Month in my secondary school.
Yeah, it's the same for me. Primary school,
I didn't know.
high school, college, not even uni, to be honest. Let me keep it trill.
Yeah,
I went to a white
didn't know
school.
it was a
Okay.
thing.
So
Yeah, same. Yeah. No, it was never a thing. And I think the extent of what I knew about Black history was when we did actual history and they showed us the pictures of like, I can hear it clicking in my ears. And they showed us like the slaves all packed like sardines in a tin under the ship. And then they had us watch Roots.
Yeah, Roots. That's what we watched.
Yeah, no, we watched
that traumatized me, you know. I think that started my that's for me, because I started watching that in year 8. I think I've said that in the episode with Yasmin and Natalie when we talked about racism and George Floyd. When I watched Roots and then I was sat in class and I'd seen how other people were laughing at the trauma that was on the screen, I thought this is, because I was like one of the only Black kids sat there. I'm watching it thinking this is horrible. That this is
horrid. Yeah,
like, absolutely
terrible.
No, it was one of them ones where like people would look at me to see what my reaction was, and that was also my first time learning that. So it was like I'm receiving this information the same time as everyone else, but people were kind of looking at me for a reaction. And I remember when I got to uni, I remember someone from ACS added me on it on Facebook, but I didn't know what ACS stood for, so I thought it was a scam, and I deleted the request. And
I didn't know what ACS was until I came to uni either.
Same. And like it wasn't like, you know, let's say there was a drama society that would do something, you know, during the month of October. That never happened. If there was anything to do with Black History Month, that kind of fell upon the shoulders of ACS. And if you've been part of ACS before or you've attended ACS event, you know that they can be very rudimentary.
Let's turn up.
Turn up, have burnt jollof at a gathering, no representation of East Africa, Southern Africa, or Caribbean. It tends to be
speak
just
for
West
your
African
ACS, because Manchester's ACS was very diverse.
To be honest, Huddersfield was a very small university. And to be honest, like in terms of the committee, we had like, I think a good range. We didn't really have any sort of like East Africans, but because the university was small, there was just not that many Black people to really kind of be there. But I guess from what we've kind of gathered is Black history. I mean, what you said, Anna, about like how you learn about Motown and the Americas, was that much emphasis on UK and Black people in the UK and Black history in the UK?
I think in primary school it was more like Black role models, so it was less about
Wait, sorry, did we all plan to wear black today or something for Black History Month?
I'm wearing brown.
Oh, it looks black on the lighting.
We planned it. We planned it. What was I saying? Yeah, well, I think it was more focused on like Black role models. So we learned about, let's say, like Mary Seacole and her efforts, or like Benjamin Zephaniah.
I didn't know that Mary Seacole was Black, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know who that is.
She's like a nurse from the Caribbean.
Yeah, she works in the Crimean War or something. Yeah,
right on, my sister.
Yeah, great. But yeah, so it was more about like role models. So what's her name? Her name slipped my mind, but you know the bus.
Rosa Parks.
Yeah, Rosa Parks. Yeah, Rosa Parks. Martin Luther King. It was just more about Black role models than slavery. I think the slavery part came in secondary school more time, or like year 6. Like when we were a bit older, that's when we learned more about like the cross-Atlantic trade and all of that stuff. But like that was, it was only like part of our history curriculum. Like most of it was the Tudors and the Celtics and the Germans, Battle of Hastings, and all of those Romans, like kind of stuff,
and the kings that had like what 8 wives or something, like was it Henry VIII?
Yeah. So like the Tudors and stuff like that, and then obviously then you go on to like American history with the wars and stuff like that. But yeah, it was you only really learn about, let's say, cross-Atlantic trade, and you know, there's not massive emphasis on colonization for some reason. Like you say,
I was just about to say that.
Is it because that's closer? Because like slavery seems so far away, but like some countries only got independence like Like
in
our
parents'
grandparents would know what it was
Mm.
like to kind of be occupied. So is it because it's like closer, and that can, because obviously this country wants you to be patriotic, and if you learn that this country is essentially decimated the lands of your people, I think that can cause some friction.
Yeah, I think it's a bit close to home, really.
If we want to keep it real, every single year, different countries are celebrating their Independence Day. And we're celebrating that because we're independent from Britain. Now, Britain will never really acknowledge their grave, disastrous history in colonization.
They won't whilst the Commonwealth still exists, because at the end
Exactly.
of the day, a lot of these countries willingly still are still part of the Commonwealth, and some countries the Queen is still the head of state. So I'm like, essentially, is it that you're co-signing what's happened in the past? Because when the Commonwealth Games have happened, all of you are jumping on flights to come here and run for the Queen. But the reality is, I'm not saying that's even being insulting, but it's hard for it to be like, oh, we're now fully independent and we
She's a runner, she's a track star.
you know, that's for your auntie.
No, but it's true. It's like, come on, dance for us. But literally, it's very performative. And I think until, I guess, certain countries decide to kind of take a stand, but then again, it's not even like there's good governments there anyway. So it's even like, if we can still be part of you, we can still get some sort of benefits.
I find the Commonwealth really interesting, like so interesting. I think one of the Caribbean islands, I want to say Barbados, wanted to remove the Queen as their head of state. And I remember reading some articles and looking in the comment section, and British people saying, oh, well, go away then. We don't want you anyway. How could you remove the Queen as your head of state? Do you know what she's done for you? I'm thinking,
what does she do here? She's a titular ruler.
What is
she's
going on? She's
a ruler
here?
By name, but not by, she actually has in terms of power.
Yeah.
There isn't that. So
I ain't understand, like, because it just means she's got access to your royalty and riches. Like on the other day on Twitter, it was trending about how the Queen's her biggest diamond is called the something diamond of Africa or something.
Africa,
and then everyone was like, the diamond of where? That's not hers. Then.
It's from South Africa, isn't it?
I think it's about like 600 million pounds. If you were to sell it, I think it's like 500 something carats. It's like, do you know how heavy that is? And I think she has like one massive jewel from India, and I'm like, but
they talk about it being gifted. They say that it's gifted and stuff like that. I'm just like, so this is what we're doing. You know, they dress up words, which is why to me Black History Month is just like, what are we? Is Black History Month isn't actually for Black people. It's meant to educate white people or other demographics about Black history, because Black history is history. But in the UK, they don't engage with that sort of history. They just see it as something that's for us. Or keep it to them in 1 month and then let them just have it. So even if you don't resonate with Black History Month growing up, or it's not something that you experienced really having around you, people of this country will always just assume that it's for you, whether you like it or not.
That's actually the next point I was going to go on to. So I guess, with all the things we said about what Black history is, a lot of it is very trauma-based, like from colonization to slavery to marginalization, racism, modern day slavery, all of these things. And I guess as modern day Black people, because that's what we essentially, when it's during Black History Month, that's why these companies have people to come and talk about racism in the workplace. That's when they come to talk about what's happened in the past. By the way,
companies aren't paying influencers enough money for Black History Month, so that's why Black people aren't coming up to speak. But that's another point.
Okay, I think we need to do another episode on paying people what they're in. But still, but essentially a lot of it is about trauma, right? You learn about the past and I guess how that impacts you now. No one is like coming to the stage to be like, this is the great things that Black people have done. And even when it's things that they've done, it's usually because they've had to overcome some sort of adversity. It's never like, this is just Black people can't be ordinary. That's one thing I realized. We can't just be ordinary Tom, Dick and Harry and just
be mediocre.
You can't be mediocre.
You have to be kings, queens, black excellence.
Yeah, no, some of us were like tapping palm wine from a tree. Some of us weren't kings and queens. And I guess...
We actually also never talk about any conquest that ancient or old African tribes or societies had over other territories.
Is it because all this history's been like removed or destroyed? Yeah, because when these soldiers were coming through, they weren't just like sealing things, they were burning things down as well. Yeah, so going back to my question, I guess we're happy to hear thoughts. Do modern day Black people need to identify with Black History Month, and what comes with it?
I feel like this is a response for Anna to go first.
Oh gosh, you didn't even give me time to think. I was like, yes, I can think. Tough one. No, I think we need to put more pressure on. I mean, okay, I think Black History Month is a good stepping stone.
Sorry, that just reminded me of that woman in every New Year's Eve post where she's stepping on
with a bag full of like peace, joy, love, and she's leaving back like regrets and
bad friends, jealousy.
Oh alcohol. God, get it out of here. We left that in 2019.
And she's a Black woman as well.
Why? I think it's a good stepping stone to elevate Black voices and art and give it a platform. But I think, as everyone repetitively says, it should never stop there. Like, it's good to have a spotlight, but it shouldn't be like, okay, show's over, close the theater now. It should be like, okay, you've been given a spotlight, now we're gonna give you a slot in the theater show. Like, you know what I mean? Now everyone has seen how good you are. So I think it's a welcome. Yeah, I think we just need to reevaluate like what it looks like, or what Black History Month looks like, because I think people are just tired of every year being taught about slavery. Like, especially, let's say, I don't know, imagine like 5 years of your secondary school career, you're being taught about slavery every October. Like, that's a bit, and okay, it won't be every 5 years, because by the time you're like, let's say, doing GCSEs, you're not going to pause learning about American history and the wars and Cold War to learn about Black history when you've got exams and mocks in January, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So any Black History Month stuff you get involved with will be like, let's say if you have, I don't know, PSHE lessons, or if you do like reflection in the mornings, the form time or assemblies, or any events that and activities your school does, that's when you would actually be able to engage with that, because you won't be able to in curriculum. But I think, we need to kind of like change. We need to change how curriculum looks like. It's not like your ancestors were slaves. It should be like your ancestors were colonizers. I don't know. I think we need to flip the perspective of it, because it's a bit like,
that's really true, you know.
Like, Black people, where is you? Look at where your ancestors. You should be lucky where you are, instead of, oh, look at what you did, and these are the consequences of what you did. But look how far Black people have come. I don't know. It's the perspective.
That footballer did say that we should learn. What's his name again?
Dion Dublin. Let me even get to that, because what Anna just said was actually that's really good profound, because lots of people talk about we shouldn't make white people feel guilty about what they did. But in that same vein, they have no problem with Black people feeling trauma or feeling worse off from what they're seeing or what they're being told about their people. And it's like we can't have white guilt, but Black people can feel bad about what's happened to them. They can feel sad about what's happened
Cruz to them. And saying, he was like, if we get rid of, like, if we keep campaigning to get rid of white supremacy, what if Black supremacy starts? I'm not obviously quoting, because I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something along those lines. He was like, I know this stuff is happening, but I'm worried about Black supremacy. And I'm like, read the room. He got cancelled. He got ratioed folded in very, very quickly.
Yeah. Terry Crews has howlers, absolute howlers. Some of his opinions, you know what, let me not even start on
Yeah,
him.
people say that he wasn't actually acting in Black Chicks, but
but yeah, Dion Dublin on big BBC
Christian
was
Dior.
talking about what was he even saying? Talking about we shouldn't really have Black History Month. We should be teaching more white history. And I thought, but that's all we learn. Now, if he could have actually salvaged this point if he said we need to learn about white history in a different perspective, the perspective that Anna is talking about. Then there might have been some like saving grace, but to be sat there next to a mixed race woman and a white host and say we don't need Black history and we need more white history, I thought, are you normal? Are you normal? Is everything okay at home? Like, it doesn't make sense to like get rid of, let's just call it history, because that's what it is. It's history. You want to erase aspects of history, and for what? To appease a certain demographic, to appease the majority. But the majority also need to realize what their history is. It's just for so long, because they always say that history is told by the winners, or
So the victors.
By the victors. So in that sense, yeah, you know,
it's interesting because like afterwards he came on Twitter to clarify his point, but the point he made on Twitter was completely different to what he made in the video. Because then on Twitter he then said, what he meant was that Black history shouldn't be limited to 1 month of the year, and it should form core curriculum in all schools, and we should teach our kids about each other's history all year around.
Someone has literally shoved that down his throat, and he was like, but I don't want to say it. You know what, I get it, because I think especially in the world of football is worldwide, and usually successful players who happen to be Black are often seen as like the spokespeople for Blackness, right? In terms of, this is a prop and we're going to use this person anytime we need to discuss Black issues. And so I imagine there's probably going to be a lot of football fans that will watch that and say, I agree with him. And then they'll run with that.
Dion Dublin guy, he's all right, him. He's all right, him.
Yeah, and they'll run with that. And so, and I think, but then it also goes back to the thing of, can Black people be allowed to not believe in Black History Month and not get vilified for it on social media? Or is it that if you're a Black person if you're a Black person who occupies a space, on a visible space, does that mean that you can't share your own true opinions because in the court of social media, you're not quote unquote like advancing the Blacks?
Yeah. I mean, when I was younger, I would always be like, yeah, Black History Month, keep it. And when I would hear Morgan Freeman say that we don't need Black History Month, you know, Black history is American history, etc., I'd be like, how are people going to know about our history? And then I realized I would say our history. I'm like, but it's not my history because I'm not American and my parents or my lineage wasn't slaves. The people that stayed in Ghana were eventually colonized by Britain, but they weren't part of the transatlantic slave trade.
So, I think some slaves did go back. Some slaves were able to go back. So
some
there
did
is
return.
a chance of like.
But a lot of the ones that did return ended up in Sierra Leone.
And I'm from Ghana, so you know, there we go. No chance.
Yeah, that's why I hear that's why the capital's called Freetown. But
look at that, you've learned something new today, guys. If you didn't know this before,
but as I've gotten older, I realize, you know what? I think he's actually right. We don't need Black History Month. There just needs to be a better emphasis on weaving history from the world, because if Britain, of all countries, and Britain is the perfect example, if you go around conquering 3/4 of the world, you need to reflect your history and your curriculum on that basis. You can try and hold on to the whole English nationality, British nationality, but unfortunately, those countries that you colonized, when they come back to you, they want to see a bit of representation from what you've taken from them. There's no point keeping it in museums. And when it's in museums and they ask for it back, you say, no, we're still looking at them. We're still looking at these artifacts. Like that's why when in Black Panther, Killmonger, when he's in the museum and he says, well, your ancestors stole those, people are just like, yeah, go on.
It's
Yeah, that
true.
Killmonger guy, he's all right, him. I like him.
No, and actually it reminds me of this woman that I learned about at uni, because someone was like, you don't know who she is. I think her name was like Sally or something. She was like a woman that was
Is she black? And she called Sally?
yeah, no, I think, no, this was like many years ago, and she was like taken from, I think, well, what would now be like modern day like South Africa, and then she was taken to the UK and other European countries, and I think she landed in like Belgium or something. And
oh, she the one with the really big back?
Yeah, she's the one with a really big bum. But even when she died, like they literally like preserved her body and dissected it many times so that people could look at it. And literally they had to petition to say, can you actually just give us her body back for us to bury it where she's actually from? And it's even like we have to consistently petition for things that never belonged to this nation, yet still we have Black History Month, but reparation and literally giving back what you've stolen is debated. And even then, when I think about it, if they're so unwilling to give back what they've literally stolen, like this was taken, this was not given, this was taken, I don't ever see an actual good representation of Black history being put into the curriculum, and also the type of person that puts in just into the curriculum, because we have people like Dion, whatever his name is, Dion Dublin. We also have like the Black people who were like, oh, racism doesn't exist. And you know what, I think everyone's experience is different, so I'll never like quote unquote cancel someone for being like, well, I grew up in this area and my race hasn't impacted me. I'm not going to now say because you're Black automatically disadvantaged if you don't think you are. But for example, if those types of people are now the ones to say, yeah, let's put it in the, what about, remember when the government came back with the NHS
race report?
Yeah, with the race report, and it was like, did it come out inconclusive or something like that? It came out with some very good results.
They said that there isn't significant evidence to say that Britain is intrinsically or institutionally racist.
Exactly. But can you now imagine if someone who believes that now is part of the charter or the team that puts together these types of curriculums? And the thing is, there'll be people who back it and say that's absolutely true because that's what the experience says. And the other side, there'll be people who
if I was a positive person,
you've not done enough.
If I was a positive person, I would be like, yeah, that's probably true. But even if you remove positivity out of it, by simple logic, how can that actually be true? Because grandparents who were born in the 50s, 60s were born, and their parents were alive in a time where most of the countries that we are from personally were still under colonialism. So
but some people didn't. I know this might sound controversial, but not everyone hated colonialism. Some people benefited underneath it.
Well, are you talking about countries? Or are you talking about the people here in this country? Because I'm talking about the perception of how that shapes their mind and their thinking. So
no, I think I'm thinking about the whole scope, because I was speaking to one of my friends the other day, and she was saying that she went to this conference where people were speaking about race and science, and a woman came up, and I think she recently only came to the UK like this year, and she was like, I love it. I don't feel like my race has had any impact in my interactions with people. But then I can, if let's say I came from a disadvantaged background, I can say, well, because of this and this and this and this and class and race and this, I can feel it impacting me this way. But the person who's just landed here, who is like, there's less corruption, there is free healthcare, or like who's actually genuinely had like really nice interactions with people, their experience won't be the same. And so they won't kind of understand where you're coming from if you say the UK is racist. So we can't just see it off the scope of, like obviously if you think about like the Windrush generation, we can kind of see a timeline of marginalization. But if let's say someone landed in the UK this year or last year, or even in the past like 5 or 10 years, their experience won't be the same. And that's okay.
But that depends on
that.
who the person is and the age demographic that they're from. Because if you're an adult and you land in here from West Africa, you're thinking there's more opportunities here. But if you're the child of that West African and you go to school here, best believe some of the stuff that you're hearing in school, you're thinking, I never heard this in school back home. I didn't know that this was a thing. And you'll feel very isolated. So it all depends on sometimes your age, sometimes your your background in life, and how you perceive things, how you see things. But yeah, I'm saying scrap Black History Month. Like, get rid of that.
Yeah,
Dead
even
ass.
like even as you were saying, JIREH, like the current curriculum right now doesn't even honor the diaspora anyway. Like people that their lineage is, I don't know, back in Asia or Africa, we never learn about, let's say, like the ancient kingdoms or villages or colonies or tribes in Asia and Africa, and how they moved around or how they traveled, how they became the different countries that there are now, and how, let's say, you can find the Fulani tribe in loads of West African countries because they were a traveling tribe. Like a lot of these kind of things we've had to learn and pick up ourselves. You know, how I don't know, a culture of tea, you know, came from India, China, and how it's traveled to the pre-colonialism, how that was there in their country. You know, pre-colonialism, how did Africa look like? We've just never learned any of that stuff. They say Black History Month, and then they teach us about American history, and there's such a cognitive dissonance there. Like, you're like, oh.
It's like the Americans took the slaves and they did this too. That's literally how we learned it. It was like, I know the UK was a triangle, but like the UK part was like tiny. The Americans
first.
That's so true, you know, because in school we actually did learn about the triangle, but Britain was never focused on. They just said, so it was a triangle, but you know, in America they were doing so much,
and they owned slaves, but
and
we literally paid reparations to slave owners from taxpayers' money, like in this country.
Elephant and Castle.
And David Cameron's family was one of the beneficiaries. But what I was going to say was, in Black history, especially in this country, it might sound even controversial, but even Black people have co-opted people into believing, especially other Black people, that their history is slavery. It's not slavery. That's not your history. Your history is way, way more than that and before that. And our history, especially here in the UK, is not Motown. Sorry, Anna, I know you have to do performances. It's not Motown. It's not Martin Luther King, albeit very nice and we learn about him. It's not Rosa Parks. That's not Black history. That's American Black history. But that's not the history in total. We are from, how many countries in Africa? 54 or 52?
Yeah, 50 something.
50 something. With varying histories. North Africa, completely different to South Africa. East Africa, completely different from West Africa. But yet, we all put it under the banner of Black. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. Because West Africa definitely has a lot of links in our history, because before Britain came, we didn't have rigid lines.
Yeah, there was no country lines.
Countries. Yeah. So there was intermingling of tribes and whatnot. But since
a massive kingdom,
all I know is Britain. Britain has done such a madness.
Yeah. No, and even when I was kind of looking into this topic, I realized that there's not even like an Asian History Month. I think I saw an organization where they were still they had a petition for like South Asian History Month, and I was like,
if you watch Bollywood, if you watch Bollywood, you see what's happening, or the what's the word I'm looking? The consequences of British colonialism. It's still working.
It's still rife. It's still rife.
We don't have a whole month dedicated to what they do there. And I can understand when Asian people say, well, what about Asian History Month? And some Black people might look at it and say, oh, go away, man. It's not your turn. It shouldn't be about turns.
No. I think there just needs to be more transparency about history all across the board. And I guess allyship can look different, because some people will say, well, Black people were also marginalized by the Asians, and so I think or even just all over the world, to be honest. And so I think there's still more likely to be that friction between like more Black people, I guess, might not feel so happy to kind of have other people, I don't want to say jump on the bandwagon, but like jump onto the Blank History Month kind of train. But we can expand that. next year. But one thing I do want to talk about is performative activism. Guys, is it dead? Because these are the receipts that I have. Last year, killings, brutalities in America, in the UK, and then of course when African countries showed their behinds by essentially killing their own citizens. Essentially, there was just a lot of Black trauma, like Black people. I took the day off work. Literally, I remember I got into work, I got into the staircase and I sobbed onto my own lap. I logged in, I said, I need the day off. And I took the day off. And essentially, there's just a lot of Black trauma, and it was hyper visible, right? On social media, one hashtag after the next. If it wasn't George Floyd, it was the other people that have died. And SARS. If it wasn't that, it was Breonna Taylor. And it was just like blatant racism coming out of the woodworks. Digging up old comments by our Prime Minister Boris Johnson saying that people look like watermelon smiles and pickaninnies and all of these things. And then we had the whole Meghan Markle and Harry debacle that seemingly is never coming to an end. And so we had a lot of companies sending out statements internally. Whether they had to be forced to do it, I don't know. Whether they did it proactively, we don't know. Making pledges to say, I will never understand, but I'll try my best to understand. And all of these things that were being said. I mean, number one. Can I
just say 90% of companies don't celebrate Black History Month in this country? Your everyday workplaces, they do not care about Black history. So
they don't. And the ones that do, bro, when it clocks the 1st of November, they change the Black fist. Also, please, if you feel the need to design a shirt with the Black fist on it for Black History Month, delete your design. We've had enough. And if you want to make a table and you decide to paint it Pan-African, strip off the varnish, just sell the table. Anyway, do we believe that performative activism is dead? Or do we believe that actually the pledges, the thoughts, the comments, the prayers from last year, do we believe they actually worked, or was it just performative activism? Because I've not seen it this year. I've not.
You know what? Glory to God that some companies actually follow through with their pledges. Amen.
Amen.
But glory also to God for companies that need to pay for their crimes. There's been a lot of mouth service from a lot of companies, and we've seen nothing of it. But there have been companies that have, actually taken the whole thing seriously and used it as a learning curve. So I think it really just depends. But I think performative activism is still rife. And I don't think there's anything, I don't know what we can do about it, really. But yeah.
Maybe stop asking people to comment when they have actually nothing to say.
Oh, that was so embarrassing. I'm so sorry. But that whole thing last year where people were literally like atting people on Twitter, why haven't you tweeted
Jack
anything
from Love Island?
Yeah.
Jack from Love Island?
I was like,
because it has Black friends?
Well, that's what happens when you call him Oluwa Jack. So people were expecting.
Never in my life called that man Oluwa Jack. The people that did, you know who you are. Repent for your sins. What do you think, JIREH?
I actually don't have an opinion on this. If performative activism is dead or rife or active
or effective
my opinion, which is very little, is just businesses are just doing what businesses are doing. At the end of the day, it's all about the Benjamins. Sorry, that's America. It's all about the Queen Elizabeths, and it's all about the sterling. So whatever gets the money flowing is what they'll do. It doesn't really matter if it's activism or not. Doesn't matter if it benefits a certain demographic or population. If it's good for money, if it's good for business, it's just business, man. It's just business. That's all it is, business. Yeah. So kudos to them, because if we had businesses and we were trying to get that guap to the next level, we'd probably do the same.
Yeah. Well, that is a very sobering truth. And that's for anyone who's looking at companies for, obviously I'm not saying that
why
every
are we
company
looking at
is bad.
companies for solutions?
Why?
I don't get it. Why? What is it about Asda or Argos or John Lewis that we're
Or
thinking,
BBC.
or BBC, that if they do it, everything will be okay? You know
Life
what?
will be different.
If that's what happens, that means Gary down the street will stop calling me the N-word.
Yeah. I mean, supermarkets can actually stop calling the ethnic aisle and just call it the food aisle and just give it more options. I want to buy yam at my local Asda. Okay, I want to buy ripe plantain from my local Asda.
Yeah, they call it World Foods.
I want to buy
World
Cerelac.
Foods.
Yeah, World Foods, and it's literally one aisle and half of it is Polish.
I said,
food.
is Britain not in the world, or are you separate from the world? I don't get it.
Yeah, and I guess, yeah. I mean, to be honest, this year I didn't see the same energy. All I saw was, oh, we have a speaker. What is the speaker going to say to me that I didn't already know? And they don't even seem to be heavily attended. But of course, I'm sure that in smaller spaces on the road, on Stretford Road in Hume, we see the people that knelt down for over a year, protesting in the rain, in the sleet, in the hail,
that was inspiring.
Sometimes in the snow. We saw them with their banners and their kids every single Wednesday evening protesting. But those little, I think it's the little acts that actually make a big difference, rather than making sweeping statements about nothing, that accomplish nothing, that better nothing, and just waste everyone's time. But of course, if any of you share our thoughts, if you disagree with us, let us know. Let us know. If you're not Black, actually, we welcome your opinion too, because just because it's a Black history kind of topic doesn't mean that you can't share your sentiments or how you feel, unless you disagree with us. Anyway, do you guys have any closing thoughts on Black History Month, its relevancy, performative activism, all that good stuff?
Scrap it.
Oh,
just scrap it and do better. There we go.
What about you, Anna?
Oh gosh. I would just say, like, I think companies need to be better. Like, to be honest, what I'm saying is, we're not relying on companies to change our lives. We're just relying on companies to appreciate Black talent. That's all. Like, we're not asking anyone to bend over backwards or whatever. We're just asking for an opportunity to show how good we are and why. Well, we don't even need to show why we deserve it. It's just, we need you to open your eyes, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Shine your eyes, because we're here. And that's all, really. Like, you don't need to be doing the most. Paying people to make statements on your behalf and saying useless words. And
then when that month is over, you say, well, thank you for that.
I mean, I'm happy that Black people are getting paid. Get paid, sis, if they ask you to write that statement.
You ain't wrong.
If only they're paying you well. Okay, you need to find out what your counterparts are getting paid first.
And double it. Because it's Black History Month, so me, I'll weaponize my Black tears, I'll do whatever. But also, I think as a community, we also need to learn what it means to celebrate Blackness without looking at trauma or just trauma or anything that's like done against us. So, look into celebrating what Blackness is for you as a person, and don't be shy to share that around as well. And obviously, if you work in an organization, if you want the way that Black history is portrayed, even, you can also be a champion for that. And if you don't care, then there's nothing wrong with that too. Here we are open-minded to an extent. And no one should be forced into celebrating something that they don't feel like it resonates with them or in any way, shape or form resembles who they are as a person or their history. But yeah, guys, thank you so much.
Someone's phone was going off. Was that me or you?
My phone is not next to me.
I think it was you.
I think it's me.
There's a stranger in the house?
I think my work phone is going off.
Sorry, they call. Okay.
I have no idea.
I
Out
can't
of
lie
work
to you.
hours, not available.
I can't lie to you. Sometimes I'm midway through typing an email. When it clocks 5, I will save the draft and I'm out of the door.
Aramide, don't kill me.
No, seriously, I've done that many times. I know we're meant to be excellent in everything that we do, and I am in the contracted hours.
Word to that. Pay her what is due.
Hey,
5 minutes over 5 is overtime.
Serious. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. And with that, this is going to be JIREH's last episode for a while. So next time you see us, don't be like, what have you done with JIREH? He's still here. But he'll be listening more like rather than actually being on the pod for a little bit. But yeah, guys, we'll leave you with peace,
love,
joy. I was gonna say prosperity, and I was like, that is so word of faithy. We don't do that here.
Okay. I smell a new topic. And all them things there. Happy Black History Month, guys.
No, happy October.
Even that's the end.
OVO, baby.
Bye.
Bye.